only. What's up? Today I'm going to the gym for a class where I'm going to learn how to set up anchors. In the previous video, you saw me going to a rappel class, and that was actually part one of a 2-day course. So this is the first time I'm ever going to a class to learn how to set up anchors, so it's gonna be exciting. Yeah, that's it. See you there. What's up?
Is accessory cord called I like to call cordelette. Usually we want like 7 millimeters thickness with that. So this is about 10. And you'll see when we go over there, that red one there is about 7. We don't want to go thinner than that. If you go to like REI or one of those shops, they'll have spools of things. Usually like 6 or 7 is the thinnest you want to go. Underneath that, it's not going to support your weight. It's not like meant for you to like hang off of it. These anchors here, they're meant for you to hang on all your body weight plus like a rope plus that dynamic force of you falling on it. So we just want to keep that in mind. There's also webbing. So this is kind of like what they make out of like the slack lines or trampolines. It's a little bit stretchier too. The benefit to this over a static rope is that this is pretty lightweight. This is like 30 feet and this is like maybe 1 or 2 pounds, but 30 feet of like this would be like 5-6 pounds. So it'll add up, especially if you're going to like, there's a place in Connecticut, Ragged Mountain, that some of the trees are like 50 feet back. So you're gonna need like 100 feet of rope to like double it back. So that's gonna get heavy. So that's where this kind of thing comes in handy. There's also these little slings. They come in various lengths. This is like a double length sling. This will be a single length sling. This is similar material to like the Dyneema stuff over here. This has multiple uses. So for this sort of thing, I can sometimes use this as an anchor if there's bolts or something really close. This one I'll usually use for like a personal anchor system, we'll talk about later, or an extension for an anchor. So if something doesn't reach on the static rope that I have, I can use this to give me a little bit more length to reach it. This I would use this, I can use this for like an anchor. I could also use this as a personal anchor system, a PAS. So basically what I'm going to do is, I'm going to attach it to my harness. This will be attached to me. So if I am messing around with like an anchor or something, I'm up on the cliff, where I kind of want to be a little bit more secure. I can tether myself to a bolt or to some sort of feature up there that'll keep me safe in case I do slip or fall while I'm setting up the anchor. Like an Edelrid PAS, there's a couple that are like daisy chains if you've seen those. This one is easy because I can like use this as another piece of gear, like a quick draw almost. And it works the same way. I use it for my rappels and use it for like a bunch of other stuff. So there's multiple ways to do it. You can also just use a quick draw, just something to like secure yourself with your harness to some other feature while you're like up on a cliff messing with the anchor. So PAS, I like to, if I am setting up an anchor, I'll wear my helmet, I'll have my harness, my shoes, like I'll take any of those things with me when I'm going to like go up to a cliff and set up an anchor. Just to have the options. Also, it's really nice to like, if you're setting up an anchor, just clip things onto your harness so it's like out of the way, so you can just like have it sitting on the side of the cliff and then like fall off while you're doing something. So yeah, I will show you a few knots that are helpful and then we'll move into the anchors. So I talked about the girth hitch. Do you know what a girth hitch is? Okay. So girth hitch, basically you're just doubling over the material. So on my harness here, we have belay loop, and then we have these 2 points here, usually where you tie in. So these are all points of contact that you can use to like support your weight. So this was like, these points are made for you to like clip your body weight to. These are gear loops. These will not support your weight. When I'm doing a girth hitch, I can either do it on my belay loop or through these 2 points here. But basically, I'll put this around one of the loops and then I'll So I have these two sides, and then I'll take one and I'll feed it through the other side, and then it'll kind of like fold over like that. You don't want it on the stitching because that is the weakest point of the material. So that's a grip. So then I'm sitting in this and I can clip this to whatever, the anchor or anything, and I can just like sit down and that's gonna hold my weight. So I use that here, I'll go through there, I'll use that to mostly secure myself if I'm using a personal anchor system. Other one is a figure eight on a bite. So similar to the figure eight that you tie into, this is what's called a bite of the rope. So just taking a loop of the rope here. And then we're going to make the figure eight. And so this kind of helps us give a point to like clip into the rope somewhere. So when you're setting up anchors, you'll see that I have like a few figure eights on a bite over there. Like if you're just like holding out a bunch of rope and you want to like, this is the middle point, or this is like a point that you want to like hold on to, you just put your figure eight on a bite. You can clip this, put this away. You can like clip yourself into the rope with this. You can technically just make anchors. If you only remember the figure eight on a bite, you can just make figure eights on a bite for the entire anchor. That you can put anywhere on the rope. You can put it at the end of the rope, the irregular knot. So figure eight on a bite, that is the most useful one to know. The way I do this is just like, I'll grab a piece. There's a couple ways to do it. So you grab a piece and then put it through. That's going to be an overhand. Grab a piece, give it a twist, and then go through. And then you'll know if you get it because you get that figure eight. So the other knot that would be helpful if you are going to use webbing. These are all just like, both of these kind of these like loose pieces of rope. We want to wrap them around a tree or do something, we have to connect them. So there are two knots. So for the webbing, there's what's called a water knot. And then for the rope like this, a cordelet or any other like sticker static rope, be a grapevine knot. For the water knot to connect these, what we'll do is basically just do an overhand knot. And I like to kind of keep everything flat and dress it nicely. So that's just like a single knot in there. And then with all of these, I like to have 6 inches of tail just to make sure like this doesn't come out. That's like the general rule of thumb. And then I'll take the other end of this and then just kind of feed it back through where that first knot came, and then repeat over it. And that is how you secure the webbing to itself. So if you have a long piece of webbing, you probably don't have to do this. We'll see with the other anchors why this will be helpful. And I'll kind of just pull on each of these in opposite directions. It's basically that. It's basically doing that on each side. So you take the ends, you wrap them around, you feed it through the back. Do that on the other side. And then the two knots are kind of opposed to each other. So when you pull at them, they pull at the backs of each other. And you'll know you have it similar with the other one, is that you'll see these two lines here, and then you'll see an X on the back. So that's how you know. So then these pull against each other and kind of keep each other taut. Again, you like to have like at least, this one's a little short, 6 inches on either side. You can use, both of these are anchor material. Okay. So you can use either one. For the components of an anchor, we have this acronym, SERENE. So it kind of just tells you all of the components that you should have in an anchor. So the first main one is solid or strong. So you want a solid feature that you're going to attach your cordelet, your webbing to. This is going to be a tree. So you're going to look for like natural features. of a tree, like 6 feet in at least 6 inches in diameter. You want it to be alive. Because some trees you'll see a trunk and then you'll look up and it's just dead. You don't want that. I like to kind of give it a shove. If it's moving with my body weight, and my chicken arms, that's probably not a good sign for like using as an anchor. You'd be surprised, but like I've rappelled and put all my body weight on like trees like this big that are like wobbling in the wind. But if we're setting up an anchor for like people to climb on all day, we probably want something like a little bit more sturdy. So big live tree, nice strong trunk to it, some sort of like large feature, like if there's a big rock, we can go around the rock if we have that. We want to avoid like chalk stones or something like a rock wedged into another rock, because what could happen is like dynamic force can yank that out. If people would really solid, huge cam into something and they're like, this isn't going anywhere, and then they yank on it too many times and then it pops out. You just want to make sure like whatever we're attaching to is solid. Usually we can trust bolts. I like to inspect them. I like to make sure that they're like nice and shiny. And if they're rusty, can you see, like a date on them? Can you like wiggle them when you're moving them, right? Because we have these hangers over here, and these are actually kind of like what bolts will look like outside. So you'll have a 3/4 inch screw here, and so this wiggles because it's for teaching. But if you're going outside and this is wiggling, this is a little bit concerning. So yeah, looking at the hardware, like investigating that, making sure that that's all really solid. And I would argue that's going to be the most important component of this entire thing, right? Because if you have a solid, strong anchor point, you won't need to like have redundancy. You won't need to have like other parts of it because it's just going to fit on that. So redundancy is kind of just like if one fails, another can catch it. But if this is solid, it won't fit. So this, I think, is the most important. We want our anchors to be equalized. So usually we're going to have 2 strands, maybe 3 strands of cordelette rope leading up to where it's clipped into the dynamic rope. We want all of the pieces of rope to be like taut. So like when the weight of the rope and the climber is sitting on it, we want all of these strands to be equally holding that weight. We don't want like a bunch of slack in that. So it's being pulled here, but there's like a lot of wiggle room here. That just means all of the weight is just going on this one strand, and this one's just like here as a backup. It's not really doing anything. We want it to be redundant also. Again, what I said, we want multiple strands in case one thing fails. Like that tree could have looked really good, but then like, I don't know, there was a crack in it and something happened. So it fails if we have multiple things, especially like with bolts. You have at least 2 bolts, right? Use both bolts. We want it to be efficient. We don't want it to be sitting up there taking like 40 minutes to set it up because it's going to take like 40 minutes to break down. We want something simple, easy to do, also easy to check, right? We want people to be able to like check things. And if I go to climb with someone that I haven't climbed with before, usually I'll check their anchors. And if there's a whole mess of things going on, like it's not going to be easy for me to see. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be easy to like miss things if there is a mistake, if one of the strands is off, it's just like a complicated system, it's going to be hard to like check that. I want there to be like simplicity in it, easy to check like 2 or 3 things, and then we can one, no extension, kind of like similar to what I was saying. We don't want it to be like kind of messy. We don't want a lot of like strands. We don't want like our bolts are up here, but then our rope is all the way down there. Like we want it to be like a simple, smaller system. When you see bolts for an anchor, there's going to be like 2 right next to each other, maybe with like 8 inches apart. And there's a reason for that. If you have a couple anchors here set up, look where let's have here in this like V shape over here. And so if we imagine we have a climber that's 100 pounds. In this system, 50 pounds is going on one side and 50 pounds is going on the other side. We have an angle that's under 60 degrees. When we make this bigger and we make it like 120 degrees, now the force on both of these sides is doubled. So now it's like 100 pounds on the side and on the other side, just because of so we want to, if we're able, bring the angle closer together. It just minimizes the forces. Okay, cool. So I have 3 anchors here. For simple ones, you can just do on volts. So the simplest one I'll show you here. So it's basically just that portalet, and then I've done a figure 8 on it. So grapevine knot over here. Another thing, when we have this, like the water knot or this knot here, we don't want it in the system. We don't want it in like the knot over here or like in this part or any part. We kind of want it off. Again, it makes it easier to just like look at the system and make sure it's okay. Also, makes this a little bit bulky, and it is the weakest part. So yeah, basically the way to make this is you have the cordelette. Then you'll have 2 loggers, and I'll take one, put it there, put the other one here. I'll pull it in the direction of the force, so we're climbing the climbers down here. So I'm gonna lift. Usually with the bolts, you don't really have to like figure out too much. And then I will figure 8 on the light. And the rule of thumb is 2 lockers opposite and opposed. And so what this does is we can lock these. That's safe, but in case this is like hitting up against a rock or something, if one of these opens and dumps the rope out, the other is opposite of that. So there's less of a chance that's going to open. It's a higher chance that this all stays together. So I like to do 2 lockers down here. It's nice when you have the same type of locker because then it just kind of sits nicer. And then 2 lockers up here. If you don't have 2 lockers, you can also I would prefer you do lockers down here where the rope is, and then do 2 non-lockers opposite and opposed up here to replace 1 locker. If I'm doing that scenario, I like to put everything behind all this stuff. So what you're usually going to see, there's going to be a junction, there's going to be grab rings or something else over here. I like to put that underneath all of that because if you put it on top, anything underneath there, and you put your weight on it, it's gonna like wedge against it, and that's just gonna make it a lot harder because now it's like your body weight on it is really big. So this is really simple, right? This is your strong pulse. This is redundant, right? Because if this falls, then you still have this here. This doesn't, these are both equalized because I pulled on it, so I know that this is like still like the weight of the person is coming down here. If the rope were to move over this way, it would kind of make this one a little bit less useful, but there's not really much extension here, right? Because it's just like this is kind of getting a little bit of slide in the system, but it's not like there's like a big loop over here. So if this does fail, it's shock loaded by like 3 feet of rope. So this is a pretty simple, easy one. I like to have this one to just like really simple to make. Second one, this is called the quad. So I really like this one. I will sometimes just like have this the way it is and clip this to my harness. So if I'm doing a sport climb or if I'm going somewhere with bolts, and I know I get to the anchor and all I have to do is like flip it to bolt, I'll just have this kind of like tidied up, hanging on the back of my harness. So then when I do get there, all I have to do is just like unravel it and then clip it. This one is really easy to make, and then you just hold it, and then if you're doing like a multi-pitch or doing other things throughout the day, you just unclip it and then reclip it wherever you need. So it's simple, easy to put together, and you don't have to like, I think the most stressful part is like when you're up there, right, and doing all this stuff. So if you can like take any of that stress out and like do less there and just like put something there, then I can double up the rope. I'll do an overhand. And then, no, I don't have enough. You'll double up the rope and you'll put figure eights on either side of the rope. And then you'll just like flip. So then you'll end up with 4 strands here. And so the way to make this redundant is you clip 2 strands, one for each. If you clip the entire thing and this fails, this thing will just kind of like slide off of that. So you want to just clip 2 strands. What I'll do is I'll clip 2 strands here, and then I'll clip the other 2 strands, and then I'll put the rope through there. Yeah, easy. And you can also clip yourself through this. So you get to the climb, and there's like a nice flat ledge, and you're not like here. You can put this in, set this up secure, and you clip yourself through. The benefit of this is that it equalizes itself. So these will like slide along here and equalize itself to the climb. So you don't have to worry about like this thing where this kind of gets loose and then all the weight is on this side. So it equalizes there. It's redundant. It's strong. Non-extended. You have a big old static rope. And you want to connect it to the tree, then you fun. So there's 2 components here. So we're imagining these 2 are trees here. First thing again is we want to find a small vector, right? So we want to find an angle that's lower than 60 degrees. We don't want that tree out there because that's going to make it really wide. And we want to make these as thin as possible, but we have, say, the cliff is over here. So we still have to know. So one thing about this that I like is if I have a nice static rope and I can set up something here, I can tether myself to this rope with that PAS. So if I'm working close to the edge over here and it's a little bit spooky for me, I can put what's called a prusik on here. And so the prusik will move as I go, as I'm holding it. But if I let go and I yank on it, it'll kind of like catch it. Kind of like a gree works when you like let the rope go out smoothly, it'll go. But if someone falls or there's like a sudden force on it, it'll catch the rope. So this allows me to do it. So what I'll do is I will find a tree. I will make this knot, which is called a bowline knot. I will show you that in a minute. Anytime I have a loose end of a knot, I want to put a stopper knot in it, put a figure 8 in it. You can like clip it back to here. I just want to put an end to it here so that it's not just like, it cleans it up. It's not flailing around. And also it doesn't have a chance of coming back through here. So I'll do that. I'll walk along here until I get to the edge. And then I'll do the 2 figure 8s on a bite. And then put the rope in there. And so then I'll have the weight of the rope kind of like pulling at this. And then I can see where I want to put it on the cliff. If there's like a notch or like some feature where it's going to be caught on, I can avoid that. And I'll weight the rope there and I'll come back to this side. And what I'll do is I'll take one of these cordelettes or like some other rope over here and I'll tie it around here. And so you can actually do this other anchor over here. You kind of take it out. And then you just make a little knot in here. And then that makes another anchor that you can put this side of the rope to. So we've kind of done it over here. So I can secure around this tree and then secure this rope that's in the rope here. And so what this is over here, I will also show you that, is a clove hitch. And so I can adjust this based on the weight of this. So when there's tension on that, will you pull on that? So I can tighten up on this, or tighten up or loosen up on that. Your body is now equalization. So these two anchors are for bolts. And this is for like trees or natural anchors. Here's like that knots.com website, which is really good. There's lots of online resources. I would practice these. But so you have two ends of the rope. This is the working end over here. So I'm going to take a loop it over like that. I'm going to take this bottom here, and make another loop here. So that's coming up out of that first loop. And then I'm going to put this through here, and then I'm going to yank on this. If it doesn't work, it'll just fall through it. But loop here, this bottom, another loop coming up into that first loop, and then the working end goes through that. So the clove is a hitch, so that means it will need to be attached to a carabiner. So make a loop here, kind of like I have the two ends, and I'm right-handed. I'll take my right hand and then do a loop, and then that working end is like on top facing me, and then I'll do another one exactly like that, and then I'll take this first loop and put it in front of that second loop. And then that, when you pull on it, should not go anywhere. If you do it wrong, you will get a munter hitch, and that will go somewhere. So you'll know right away. Exactly. Okay. So if you don't remember any of these little things I'm telling you, figure eight on a bite. The entire, take this, make a figure eight on a bite. Connect it. It's too long. Shorten it and make another figure eight. And this is legit. This will help you. You don't want to learn this stupid fancy sailor's knot? That's fine. Do a figure eight on a bite. You could figure it on a bite your way through all of your climbing group.
But it just uses more rope though, right?
It does, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But you've remembered one thing, and you can climb outside safely if you figure it on a bite the entire thing.
Right.
As long as you're alive.
So yeah, let's try it. Yes.